Hello everyone, welcome to another Green Dragons Gaming Club Battle Report. Without us, they never feel like winners, and without them, we couldn't look so good. This is another Pretty Boy Bat Rep. This is coverage from the CornerHammer GT, which was held in Schaumburg, Illinois, uh, and this was a this was a huge tournament. This was about 64 people, so this is probably going to be the second largest GT in the United States after Buckeye Battles. This is the first time um, that these guys have hosted this. This is by Len the Tyrant and Jeremy Gottschalk, and they did a fantastic job running this event. This was about a 12-hour drive for Mark and I to go out there, so that kind of shows our excitement and our willingness to be a part of this event, and thoroughly enjoyed every second of it. But I brought my ogres to this event. This is the first time I played with them in just like a regular tournament setting. I brought them to Colonial Carnage for the team tournament. And for those of you that were at Colonial Carnage, this is a very similar list. I changed it slightly, especially after the hot fixes and so forth. So feel free to pause it, look it over. I tried to take a very balanced, flexible list with a lot of options. And I actually got everything painted. I even got a display board made. Phil Carl actually helped me make the display board, so thank you, Phil. And we'll get into round one. So, unfortunately for me, my round one opponent was Max Lapora, and that is nothing against Max. Max is a great guy. I actually had the pleasure of meeting him the night before, and we hung out with him and some of the other crew from Kirby Paint and Tile. And that group's out by Michigan, and we had dinner and we're talking and stuff. So really nice guy, very good player, but his list is just nasty. This is the Infernal Dwarf list. It had 13 kadim incarnates. Oh my gosh. And some armies have answers for that in combat. My army doesn't really. Um, they go first and they just too much damage. I just bleed way too much trying to grind it out with them. They're brutal. Not to mention he's got like 4 ways of making me flammable, and he's got alchemy magic. He's got 2 rocket batteries. He's got 2 flamethrower teams. And then just chaff. Really well constructed list, and I think a tough matchup for me overall. But anyway, this was the pairings. Round one was the breakthrough scenario. I don't remember the deployment. I want to say maybe it's counter thrust, something like that. I'm not sure. Um, but this is what the board looks like, at least the one side of the board. I decided going into this originally that I was going to try to put my forces relatively close together on one side of the board to try to just take on half his army, and because I'm faster than he is, it would take him a longer time to bring everything over to support. But then we didn't know the scenarios ahead of time. When I found out coming to the table that it was a breakthrough objective, I then had to change my plans on the fly because I have to spread out. Otherwise, I'm just basically giving him the objective because he could just put all of his scoring units on the opposite side and run them across and just keep his combat units with the kadim incarnates to attack my forces. So instead I went the opposite way. I decided to split my forces to try to bait him into splitting his army up and maybe win on one of the flanks. Because the scenario is in my favor. He only has 3 scoring units. I have 4, and his are much slower than mine. But that's enough of me rambling. On the left side of the board, you see I have my Rock, Brucey. I've got a unit of bruisers, my low bruiser dart. I have a Scratapult in the back. That's my big bruiser block with my general and BSB in it. I decided to take Shamanism for this battle because, let's face it, Pyromancy is less than useless against this army. And then scouting ahead into the forest is my 1 unit of Trappers. Looking across from me, all the way on his right side, he's got a unit of 5 kadim incarnates. He has a unit of 10 of the Citadel Guard with the flintlock axes. Then he's got a unit of orc slaves. I believe they're just the basic orc slaves. I don't think they have any upgrades. Maybe a musician or something. Then he's got a unit of vanguarding wolf riders ahead of them. One flamethrower in the middle. Behind is a bigger unit of Citadel Guard with his BSB and alchemy prophet general in there. Another unit of 10 dwarves with flintlock axes in front of them. Another unit of orc slaves, 2 rocket batteries on the hill. And then the other side of the board, I have my other Stratapult. I have my Merc Vets facing the center, hiding behind the hill. Another Bruiser Dart, and then Scouting Trappers. And across from the Scouting Trappers are the Vanguard and Wolf Riders. Another Flamethrower weapon team, 5 more kadim incarnates, and 3 more kadim incarnates. Whew. Alright, so I decided for this game to ambush my 2 Kin Eaters. The reason I did this was I could have deployed them normally and used them as chaff, which is not a terrible plan, or maybe anti-chaff to just have something to try and go after those Wolf Riders, but the units that I would want to avoid combat with are the kadim incarnates, because they fly. It doesn't really do me a lot of good to deploy them normally, so I figured let's go after those 2 War Machines on War Machine Hill. They're worth a lot of points, and even if he tries to shoot them to kill them off, then he's not shooting at the important stuff. So, I believe I dropped everything. After several drops, I dropped everything for first turn. To try and work this one flank here. So I deploy my big unit of bruisers wide because he's got the flamethrower unit, so I don't want him getting extra hits. Plus, it gives me extra attacks if he charges something in. I try to frenzy bait the kadim incarnates with my trappers in the woods. I figured this was a decent plan. His general and BSB are out of range. He's got to roll a maximized roll. If he charges, I can flee, and then it sets up my Rock can hopefully march around them if they stumble forward, and then put him in a rather uncomfortable situation there, or charge him if that opportunity is better. So I shift around a little bit over here. I moved my BSB out of the unit behind the mushrooms. The mushrooms are actually impassable terrain for all the boards, so he is hidden from any shooting or magic, and my general moves over to the other side of the unit to throw magic of his own. I want to try to shut down his shooting this turn. I'm trying to remember why I moved the BSB. Oh, I moved my BSB over to get in range of the Rock, so that hopefully he does not fail his frenzy check. That's why I did that. Okay. Over here, I move the trappers to shoot at the Wolf Riders and hopefully panic them. And then I decide to move my Merc Vets onto the hill. I move them partially onto the hill. I want to try and start shooting at the artillery and see if I can pop those out, because those things are rough. They do 2d6 strength 7 AP2 hits, and I can't take much of that. And I want to do it before his kadim incarnates really put pressure on me. Going into magic, I shove through a aura of chilling howl, and it hits basically everything important that he can shoot with. It hits both of his volley guns, and it hits one of his flamethrower weapon teams. I believe one of the flintlock axe units. He just had things way too close together. So that was really fortunate for me to get off. So they're all at -1 to wound with their shooting. And then I go into my shooting phase, and the Merc Vets fire off and do 3 wounds to the one volley gun, which is very nice. And then that was it for my first turn. My plan actually works. His kadim incarnates fail the frenzy check, and they charge the trappers. So the trappers flee, obviously. But then, unfortunately for me, And I gotta stop doing this. I do this way too often. The trappers flee, and I believe they go through the Scratapult, and then because the Scratapult's insignificant, it has to take a panic check, and even with the BSB right there, it fails, and it starts to flee also, so that's not the best, but at least my plan worked. The kadim incarnates bumble forward, and now I have some options on this side. He moves the Wolf Riders up to Chaff, and then he goes into his magic phase. That little red token there means he's made me flammable. There's no way for me to stop him from doing that. It's just too easy. He has too many ways of doing it. And he starts and he sets one of my ogres on fire. But all things considered, it was relatively light for the first turn. Let's see. Oh, I believe, charged. Okay, so this is my turn. He had charged his Wolf Riders into my trappers because my trappers did nothing trying to shoot at them. My trappers fled through the Merc Vets, and the Merc Vets don't care. He chooses just to fail with his charge and land his Wolf Riders right in front of the Merc Vets, which was fine by me. Gives my Scratapult an easy charge. In this game, my Scratapults really don't have a lot of good options, so I'm just using them aggressively as chariots. So I'm going to go in, try and clear some chaff there. My one Kin Eater arrives. This is Pegleg, and he moves up to put pressure on the artillery. I really would have liked both of them to arrive. Then it would have been much more difficult for him to try and shoot them off, but anyway, he's at least going to absorb some firepower from the rest of the army. And over here, Brucey goes in. I was really reluctant about this. I even checked beforehand to see if I could march out of his line of sight, and the only reason I charged was because I could not. And I'm really not going to get a better opportunity than this. It was a relatively easy charge, so I took it, and Brucey's going in. I'm hoping between me getting the charge with all the impact hits and my magic phase that I'll do enough damage to this unit that maybe in the second round I can finish them off. And that would be huge because then I would have the Rock in the flank of his lines, hopefully on my turn, to be able to start charging stuff. So the rest of my movement, the Scratapult luckily rallies, the Trappers do not, and they flee off the board. I'm really putting a lot of confidence in Brucey that he's going to pull this out, and I just march up that Bruiser Dart as fast as I can to try and get to the finish line for the objective. And then I play swapsies with my BSB and my general. The BSB moves back into the unit. The general moves behind the mushroom cover, only just to get in range of the Rock because it's more important that I win this fight than to try and shut down shooting again. And this is a terrible picture. I know you can't see the card, but in my magic phase, I get off Awaken the Beast on the Rock, and I increase his resilience by 1, so now he's resilience 7. Meaning, even though Strength 5 Kadim Incarnates are needing 6s to wound me, and now I'm feeling really confident about that fight. Let's see, over here. So I must have forgotten to take a picture last turn, but his Kadim Incarnates had moved up. Same with his Flamethrower weapon team. I am really, probably to my detriment, overly determined to kill that one volley gun. So I shuffle my Merc Vets over just enough so I can get enough guys to shoot at it without any cover from the Wolf Riders, and I want to just pick it off. I know that the Kadim Incarnates fly. My plan at this point is that if he charges me, I'll flee with the Merc Vets, and when I flee, he's going to fall short behind the hill, and I'll be on the other side, and then when I rally, hopefully the next turn, then he's going to waste 2 more turns moving up over the hill to get to me, and meanwhile my Merc Vets can move around, they can shoot, stand and shoot, or even charge and try to take out those units while distracting them from the rest of my army. Otherwise, I think the Trappers keep fleeing, and then I just move my Bruiser Dart back. Okay, so here's a better picture of that spell that I got off. In shooting, the Merkvets do their job and pick off one of the volley guns, which is very nice. I That's a spell that my opponent must have gone off on the other volley gun. I think it gave him like flaming shots or something like that. So anyway, we go into combat. Brucey really let me down. That's all I can say. I rolled low for the impact hits. I only rolled 4 for 3d3, so that was below average. And then I think I did 3 wounds. He made 1 ward save, so I do a couple wounds with the impact hits, which is okay. But then I'm getting 5 strength 7 attacks with the monster with battle focus, and I missed all of them. I mean, I need 4s to hit, but still, like, should get a couple in there. I missed with everything, and then the rider on top did absolutely nothing. Thankfully, because I'm such high resilience, he only did 1 wound back to me. I only win combat by like 2, and I think he passes. I think he makes a low leadership check, and they don't do anything. So I didn't even kill 1 kadim incarnate. I literally do 2 wounds, and now Brucey's just sitting there, and I'm really feeling down about this flank now. That's not looking good. Meanwhile, on the other side, I clear the chaff with the chariot, but don't quite kill them all. Again, another kind of terrible comment. I only kill 2 wolf riders. It's enough to make them break, but then the chariot is kind of just stuck there. He declares his charges. I follow through with my plan. I flee with everything, and now he's going to be stranded on the other side of the hill. And then we continue to his dreaded magic phase, and you can see he's really trying to push hard in the center. My bruisers are still chaffed because I keep moving the characters around, and I don't want to charge the chaff. I think it countercharged with a million things, plus his magic. So we're just sitting there. He gets off flaming shots with his last remaining volley gun. Then he molten coppers me. His magic dice started to just get really hot. I couldn't stop any of his spells, and it shows. I mean, with flammable everything else, he kills 4 ogres. Oh, oh my god, just eviscerates half the unit. He just threw gasoline on them and set them on fire. It was awful. Yeah, the center's not looking too hot right now. No pun intended. And then what's this over here? Oh, yeah, he kills the 1 Kin Eater who tried to go in it alone. To make sure of it, he even turned his 1 unit around to shoot at them. And he moved his general and his BSB into the one towards the bottom of the picture to get them closer to the action. With his volley gun, he kills off 1 of my bruisers in this bruiser dart to try to make them panic, but they show him by passing their discipline test, which is good. And what is it? Oh, before I get into that, combat with the Rock, it's kind of a pillow fight. The only thing that's keeping him alive is that he's resilience 7, so I don't think he got any wounds through. Maybe 1 on me, and I think I did exactly 1 wound to him. Again, the Rock I think hits with 1 attack, and that's it, and is able to kill off 1 guy, but that's definitely not going to be enough. And then there's no guarantee I can buff him up again, so I'm really losing faith over there, but he holds this round. This is what happens when you take big risks, and probably an unnecessary risk. I was just too focused on those artillery pieces, but my Merkvets fail their discipline test to rally and run off the board. So I just handed my opponent 840 points. You're welcome. And then, to my dismay, the Bruiser Dart rallies and the Scratapult rallies. So I can make those tests, but the one I failed was with the Merkvets. Oh well. So obviously, at this point, things are getting a little bit desperate. The one flank I thought I was going to win, I now know I'm going to lose. The other one I took a big risk on, and it did not pay off. So now I'm pulling out all the tricks. My opponent did not see this, but he is chaffing my unit and not my character. So the Khan, being the hero that he is, charges out of the unit into the flamethrower weapon team, which cannot flee. And if you look real closely, his bunker with both of his characters are right behind it. So I'm expecting to kill that weapon team, overrun, and try to pick off his characters to get some much needed victory points. And he has no counter charges because everybody's facing the other way. I don't think anything happened in magic this turn. Nothing substantial. Nothing else in shooting either. And yeah, the Kadim incarnates clean up the Rock. I think they kill it outright this turn. I wasn't able to increase his resilience. And now those bruisers are going to die too and not give me the objective, which is unfortunate. But at least my plan in the center is working. I blow through the weapon team and I overrun into the bunker unit. Nobody panics, everybody's good. So we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the picture, you can see a little bit. I am trying to get the hell away with what's remaining of my big bruiser block and just hide them to conserve points. Okay, now back to Infernal Dwarves. The carnage continues. He's cleaning up points by getting into this Scratapult. In the center, there's a little bit of chaos now. Everybody's turning around to try and save their characters. He brings one unit of 2 Kadim incarnates over. Previously, when he had charged, he charged that unit first, and my Merc Vets stood and shot and killed one of them before fleeing from the other, so that's why there's 2. Yeah, everybody's just turning around to go towards the center. His one orc block is going to try and pursue my bruisers, but I have more than enough movement to get away from them. And yeah, he kills the bruisers up there. It's very sad. Kills the Scratapult down here. But thankfully, the terrain does a couple wounds for me. That's the only reason why they're hurt at all. And they just move towards the center. On my turn, the other Kin Eater finally decides to show up and is going to try to get that other artillery piece. And he's also got the flamethrower weapon team in his arc, just for an additional option. In my magic phase, I get off +1 strength and AP on my BSB. In the previous turn, he challenged that with his champ, and I crushed him. And now I know I'm going to be fighting either his BSB or his general, which both have 2-up armor saves, so I need the extra AP in there. Yeah, I'm maneuvering with the command left of my bruiser unit. My general is safe behind the mushrooms, so he just stays there. My Scratapult decides it's going to try and do something and get into the fight, because it also misfired and couldn't shoot for the rest of the game anyway. So it's moving around there. Let's see. So I challenged this turn, and he was actually debating whether to go with his wizard or his BSB. And he ends up going with his BSB, which I thought was the obvious choice. The general's worth more points, and the BSB also has a 5-up ward save, so he has a little more protection. He doesn't do anything to me. I do 2 wounds to him, but don't quite kill him, which is unfortunate. And he's steadfast, so he is hanging on there. And now I know I've got counter charges coming, so I decide to face the front of the orc unit, hoping that maybe the dwarves behind me will fail. And on his turn, that's exactly what happens. So, best laid plans and all of that. His dwarves were really low and trip over each other in the water, and one of them dies, and then the orcs make it into the front, which is still not good. That's a lot of combat res coming his way. Up at the top, his flamethrower weapon team is going to try and pick off my Kin Eater. My bruisers are sneakily trying to inch their way back up the board for the breakthrough objective, and his wolves sensed it because the stupid chariot couldn't kill them. They come back to chaff them up, and his Kadim incarnates are playing gatekeeper as well. So, into this combat, my Khan triumphantly kills his BSB, so that was some much needed victory points. Well done. Unfortunately, there was a lot of combat res that was brought in by the orcs, and I break and he chases me down, so that was unfortunate. Luckily for me, though, in his shooting phase, I must have taken this picture out of order. He does 3 wounds to my Kin Eater, Hannibal the Cannibal there, but he hangs on and is not dead yet, which means I'm likely going to pick up the 290 points or so for that artillery piece. Okay, and then this was after the combat, so that wasn't the right order. So, yeah, so he kills my Khan, but I also kill his BSB, so nothing I can do there. This is from some type of shooting. He's trying again to panic these guys. He's only able to do a couple wounds to them. So now it's getting towards the end of the game, and again, I'm trying to pull as many tricks out of my sleeve as possible. I decide to charge the Scratapult in. I know he's going to be steadfast, but what else can I do? He doesn't have a counter charge there. He could fail, especially since he doesn't have a BSB, and if he fails, not only can I pick up the points for the orcs, but I then again have an overrun into the flank of his bunker unit. I decide to march my shaman out, my general, and I'm going to buff him with my magic, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to put some threats out there and clog him up so that he cannot get into my deployment zone for the objective. I'm still trying to win the objective myself, but if I can't win it, I definitely don't want him winning it, because that's a huge swing. Hannibal comes to conquer the hill and kill this artillery piece. This was really disappointing. So I figured there's no harm in not charging the Wolf Riders, and to my surprise, he flees, being only 1 inch away, and he rolls really low. He only rolled like a 6 or a 7, something like that. And then I rolled, I think, like Snake Eyes or 3 for my charge. So even with that poor roll, I couldn't frickin' catch them, which would have been nice. I would have at least gotten some points, but I know that he's going to countercharge with those kadim incarnates, so what are you going to do? In Magic, I boost the resilience of my shaman, so now he is resilience 6, and in combat, at best, you can wound him on 5s, so now he's pretty resilient to anything he's going to try and throw at him. In combat here, the Scratapult does not do very well. He only kills a few orcs. Well, I guess it's not terrible. He kills like 5 orcs, it looks like, and then takes 2 wounds in return, which I was not expecting. And I think we actually draw the combat. Or I might even lose it, but either way, we just stick. Which is bad news bears. In his turn, he's going to clean up that Scratapult now. But because he's so clogged up and he's kind of chaffed himself in the middle, he has nothing to charge my general, and all I can do is just try and shoot him and missile him. Over here, the countercharge with the incarnates is coming. Nothing I can do about that. Those guys are going to die. My opponent then decides to move his wizard out of the unit because he knows that he's probably receiving a charge the following turn and is just trying to surround my general and missile him. But I don't think does anything to me. Over here, the bruisers really surprise me. He whiffs. He only does 1 wound to me, and then I actually do 3 back to him and kill a guy. And then we just stick around, and now I'm actually hopeful that maybe I can finish this incarnate off, get some points, and maybe even get somewhere with these bruisers. So that was a nice surprise. This is a terrible picture. I'm sorry. I think I put Break the Spirit on these incarnates just because If they try to fly or charge or do anything, then they take DTs and they're -1 to hit. Because I think possibly he could have had a long charge on my general or something like that. And then in the final turn of the game, this is my last picture. Again, doing everything I can to tie the objective at this point, not lose it. I charge my general into his flintlock axe unit, his citadel guard. I do a couple wounds. He manages to do 1 wound to me. I stick around, and then on his turn, again, more of the same, and we hold. So Shrek, my general, is able to completely deny him the objective by tying them up in combat, because those are the only 2 scoring units that are even remotely close to my deployment zone, and he's held them up in the middle. Unfortunately, on the other side, I don't have a picture of it, but the bruisers then completely whiff the next round, and the last kadim incarnate kills all 3 of them. So that was just a tease. Oh, what are you going to do? Anyway, this is a really fun game, very tactical. The first couple turns were quite long, but then they got much faster as more of my stuff started dying. And we finished all 6 turns, which was good. I think we were both happy with the results, but in some ways, I think I was happier with the result than he was. I lost, but it was only a 14-6. And going into this game, I figured it would be an uphill battle just because of the matchup, and I just wanted to avoid taking a 20-0, because taking a 20-0 means you're just about out of it, if not certainly out of it, especially in this size tournament. So with the matchup considered, and then just some of the way the dice were rolling this game, I had some unlucky breaks. I had to take some risks. Very happy to get 6 points out of this against a good army like that, good player. And hopefully I can submarine up from here and make up for this. So not terrible, pretty happy, really fun game. MVPs, definitely the incarnates on his part. They just got a ton of points. There was nothing I could do to really stop them. And then for me, my character stepped up big time. Shrek shut down his shooting turn 1, which was really helpful. He could have lit me up something fierce. And then he and Khan just like charging out of the unit and saying screw it, and just going in. My Khan killed his BSB and a weapon team, and my Shaman denied him the objective. That was great. That was all the difference in the world this game. And then to conclude with the section, so what did we learn today? Taking big risks. I know I made some mistakes in this game, and I think I took 1 or 2 risks that were too large and unnecessary. Particularly with the Merc Vets, I should have been a little more cautious with them. I could have ignored the artillery and just tried to go after with the Kin Eaters, and probably just should have sat back and waited for the incarnates to come around and try to take them on, rather than exposing myself like that to a double charge. And trying to flee and then later rally on a one-time 8 is, yeah, just way too big of a risk. But the one thing I think I did well this game was I stopped the bleeding. I recognized that the game was going south, and I think I saved a lot of points where I could have easily thrown it away and just taken a 0. I definitely, made some tricksy plays at the end, but I didn't make matters worse, so I was happy with that. Anyway, that is round 1. Thank you guys for watching, listening. Hit like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Feel free to leave comments below, and then I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.